Welcome back to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig. We've got a great two-part episode for you today. We're welcoming back Mr. Jason Riederer of AHLA. We're going to be talking about legislative matters because that's his expertise, and we've got so much going on: ballot measures, legislative items, both the local and state levels. So with no further ado, other than I want to thank our good friends at Red Roof Franchising for making this episode possible and the follow-up episode as well. So call Matt Hostetler over there. They'd love to hear from you. They'd be a great alternative for you. They've got a soft brand. They've got their extended stay. They've got a new prototype. They've got a dual brand. They've also got their economy brands that they are known for. So give Matt a call. Let him know that producer Danny and I sent you. They'd love to hear from you. Jason Riederer, welcome back to the show, my friend. How are you?
Hello, Craig. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. We've got so much to talk about. I was right that you handle legislative matters for AHLA, CHLA. You work with very closely, if not handling that as well. Is that correct?
Correct. I handle the West Coast government affairs operations for AHLA, and I work very closely with my counterpart, Lynn Moorfeld, the CEO at the California Hotel and Lodging Association.
Great guy too. So, with the two of you, I think I'll be able to sleep a little bit better at night. It's just all the other nonsense that those guys are creating that is keeping me up at night. So, my friend, let's talk about ballot measures, because I think there's been some activity, especially in the city of Los Angeles, with that measure that's been coming out for next year and various other areas, please.
Absolutely. So just giving a little bit of background, as you remember, we've been dealing with this issue for about 2 years now. Yeah. It was first introduced as a ballot initiative in December of 2021. So that initiative had gone through the whole process of going to city council, getting unanimously voted down, and then getting kicked out to the March 5, 2024 primary ballot. And so as we've been waiting for that initiative to come to fruition, we were hoping that it would get pulled by now. The actual deadline for Unite Here to pull it, should they so choose, is December 8th. So next week, coming up very, very closely here. Luckily for us, Los Angeles City Council decided to introduce a compromise ordinance to convince Unite Here Local 11 to pull that ballot initiative. So it's a compromise between the union and the hotel industry to enact, in short, a good amount of the initial provision, but instead to make that mandate of housing unhoused individuals in all of Los Angeles's hotels a voluntary program instead of a mandatory program. So that would be a huge win for us. That compromise ordinance has been going through city council for the past 2 months. We just had our last hearing on it yesterday and should have a final hearing on it tomorrow, Friday at 10 a.m. Should Local 11 decide to pull their ballot initiative.
Okay, now, and that's just for the city of Los Angeles, or is that for the entire county of Los Angeles?
So this ballot initiative that Local 11 has introduced is for the city of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And likewise, the compromise ordinance would apply to the city.
Okay, great. I'm glad, because I'm starting to go, well, wait a minute. My impression was, the city. So now, has this spurred any copycats in various other cities across California?
So luckily, this specific initiative has not been replicated yet, but it's certainly our largest concern. If this were to be enacted in the city of Los Angeles, this could become another tool in the greater Unite Here tool chest of trying to pressure other city councils to enact this, to put pressure on the hotel industry. But we have seen other local ordinances enact certain local ballot initiatives and other ordinances to enact policies that include square footage limitations and double overtime rate of pay requirements and other different measures that you typically see requested in the collective bargaining agreements.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's that's a whole other subject matter that I think is also very important because right now escalating prices on everything. Now I know eggs are down 22%, but I'm still paying way too much for gasoline and a few other things.
Same.
And the cost of living has gone up, and I get that, and that's usually part of the collective bargaining agreement, and when you work for, say, a publicly held company like I did, you negotiate your best deal going in because you're not going to get a whole lot after that. Now if there's incentive programs, that's something entirely different because those you've got a little bit more control over. At least I did when I was working for a public company.
Yeah, what is interesting, while you have this ballot initiative that is pending kind of on the sidelines here, and then you've got the hotel industry in Los Angeles, going through their collective bargaining negotiations, which actually started June 22nd.
Right.
And December is right around the corner. So this has been, everyone is well aware of the strikes that have been going on in Los Angeles for the past several months, and the protesting at the Taylor Swift concerts and the soccer games, et cetera. So that has been going on. At the same time, you have the local ordinances that have been introduced, such as increasing the LA hotel worker minimum wage that has been going through city council as well. So city council has been waiting on receiving a economic analysis back on what that actual analysis would do due to the tourism industry. So all of these separate issues all play into each other. And so city council has been trying to navigate that. And to their credit, Mayor Bass has been working with our industry. Council President Krikorian has been listening to testimony from our industry. The Hotel Association of Los Angeles and Heather Rosman have been doing a great job showing up at City Council, providing testimony there. Other partners in the industry, AHLA, for example, has shown up in force as well. And certainly we have been engaged, and as has the California Hotel and Lodging Association. So there's many different aspects that all affect each other that we've been monitoring and engaging in. And then you have different items on the periphery, such as the Angelinos Protecting Hospitality organization that launched a campaign to raise awareness of this ballot initiative that has also been going on in the background.
Good, because I think that's the messaging that I want to see. I want the public to be made aware of this, and we've had a major uptick. Basically the past year and a half to 2 years when this started with unions. They've become more popular, in across the board in various industries. So we've got to work together, and we can't outprice ourselves because exactly what's going to happen. The hotel market will dry up. Whether it's we're going into awards season. We got the Emmys, the Grammys, the Academy Awards, all of that. People's Choice, if you want to consider that an award. All coming in. But if they start relocating because of union issues and not willing to cross picket lines, that has an adverse effect on everybody. And then you throw in some of the other things going on at the convention centers.
Absolutely. Specifically on this ballot initiative, if it were to have passed, nobody would come to Los Angeles for tourism, or they certainly wouldn't want to stay in a hotel alongside an unhoused individual. For safety reasons, business travel would certainly change as a result of that. Yeah. And so it's while the end initiative isn't exactly what we would have liked to have seen, it's certainly better than what was initially proposed. So in that regard, this is certainly a huge win for all Los Angeles hoteliers should it pass on Friday, and should Local 11 pull their ballot initiative. So we're very happy we were able to come to this compromise. And so it is a wait and see scenario on our part, but we have certainly done all of the engaging we can, and have talked to each city council member individually. They certainly share our concerns of the ballot initiative. And So we're happy. We are finally hopefully bringing this issue to a close.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. And thank you for all of your hard work and everybody else that's been involved with this, because that's what it was going to take. And a compromise was what was needed. Uh, I don't, you're one of our unsung heroes, my friend, because you are there in the trenches and you're up to date on all of this. Kind of within the same scope, because I think the mayor of San Francisco is another one that's doing an outstanding job. She understands that tourism is a huge part of the economic engine for that city, and they've been involved with the mayor's office has been involved with meetings and telephone calls and vid calls trying to get people back. They're making a substantial effort at cleaning up the city. I mean, I was up there recently, and the city looked absolutely beautiful to me. Now, granted, I didn't see the crowds that I typically see when I'm up there, but I see a lot of great first and second and third steps. What's your opinion on what's going on in San Francisco?
Sure, and likewise, I'm so fortunate to have a good coalition of state and local partners to work with. So up in San Francisco specifically, we have the Hotel Council of San Francisco. Certainly continuing to work closely with Lynn Morfeld at the California Hotel and Lodging Association. But San Francisco is working hard at bringing their business travel back. As you may have seen, I think Salesforce has announced that they're going to return to San Francisco after moving their convention, which is a huge victory for San Francisco. It's one of the largest conventions happening there. And certainly, I've seen new policy coming out from Mayor Bass to increase the presence of police in the downtown area. So hoteliers are very pleased with that. And so I think it'll be interesting going into this next election in San Francisco to see how the challenger not Mayor Bass, but the mayor of San Francisco, and how they decide to increase, their policies for the tourism economy in the next year here. So a lot of good positivity coming to San Francisco. Their new parks are fantastic. Yeah. Beautiful. The weather, San Francisco is one of my favorite cities. It's just gorgeous. And so there's a lot of positivity coming. The hoteliers feel it. They have some branding issues that they're working through right now of what's happened in the past. But I think if any city can turn things around, San Francisco can.
I agree with you. And, they're a city that has made themselves over repeatedly. You can go back to, the earthquake and the fires, and move throughout, the 20th century up to the, the 21st century, and they're resilient. And that's one of the things that I really like about San Francisco, besides the food just being outstanding.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it is. And, I think that, that city took a beating, and it's unfortunate. And I don't think I think a lot of it was just piling on. For the sake of piling on, because it is a great city, it's a great community, and you can see what's going on. And it's one of the reasons I try to be an ambassador for the state. We've got so much diversity, and if you look at our miles and miles and miles of coastline that are just amazing, and if you get into our cities, get into San Diego and the gas lamp and everything that's offered in San Diego, the Inland Empire, you've got Palm Springs. You've got one of our classic hotels, the Mission Inn, that puts on an amazing holiday light program at the hotel during the holiday season. And, you've got Santa Monica, you've got Venice. Okay, granted, they've got some issues as well, but you've got some of the finest boutique hotels in both those cities as well. And, there is nothing like California coastal. Okay.
Absolutely not. California has some of the most beautiful properties in the country. And it's why, the California hotels are unparalleled. It's just a beautiful area that everyone loves to visit. And we're we're very pleased that some of this extreme policy is being shot down, not only opposed by our industry and hoteliers, but also by city council. Even they recognize some of this is not good for the state. And so going back to this ballot initiative, we're very happy last year when city council took that unanimous vote against it. And if it was up to them, the issue would have gone away, and that would have been that. But we have even city councilors at the last couple of hearings here saying, they believe this is such a ridiculously bad idea that if it did go out to the voters, that it would get voted down. And while personally, I might think that's true, the voting showed that it would, or the polling showed that it would be very close. And that's certainly just a policy you can't gamble with. And if it was enacted, it would just be so detrimental to the city. So we're glad that this compromise again is happening, so we can continue to keep LA a vibrant tourism economy.
I agree with you. And I don't think the average citizen understands the amount of taxes that a hotel pays to the city. It's the transit occupancy tax. It is, the sales tax, and various cities have other taxes that are added on there. And the residents receive a lot of benefits from all those taxes. It helps keep their real estate property tax down. A lot of that pays for local fire. The cities love the TOTs because they get to keep it. They don't have to split it. And I get that. And everybody else does as well. And it can help make a better community.
Absolutely. In West Hollywood, for example, the TOT is one of their largest taxes. They don't, they only have, about 20 hotels in that area, and some of those were converted condos and apartments a long time ago. So they have larger rooms there. But if the taxes on TOT or the hotel industry go too high, or some of these new policies, extremely regulating the industry, they could easily be converted back into those condos or apartments. The hotels could essentially go away if the regulatory environment becomes too restrictive. So that's something, I don't know if enough city councils recognize, but there certainly is a balancing act of working with industry to make sure they're in an environment where they can continue to succeed, because as there is a bottom line, and if you don't make more than the taxes, well, there's not going to be a hotel there. So
exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up. And it is, I used to, when I worked for a publicly held company, I worked with a bunch of people who worked across the board, from residential and everything else in commercial real estate. And I'd listen to them at team meetings, and I go, you know what? You guys ought to just, next time you're in a hotel, thank the GM. If you ever get to meet the owner of a hotel, thank them, because they're keeping your real estate taxes down. And I'd have to explain this to them all the time. My friend, I want to wrap up part one now. I really appreciate this. We're going to be back with part two with Jason, and we're going to be talking about legislative matters from state to local. And I want to thank Jason for making the time to be with us today. Jason, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you very much for being with us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Craig. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us. Very important subject matter. Okay, you've got to get involved. Talk to Jason and the rest of our trade organizations. This is very important. So pay attention to the news, and if you can help, please do. I want to thank our production partner for today, Red Roof Franchising. They're bringing you this very important episode. We appreciate them. Call Matt Hostetler. He'd love to hear from you. They'd be a great alternative for you. Let him know that producer Danny and I sent you. Also, on March 6th and 7th, 2024 is the 7th annual California Lodging Investment Conference. You get to meet Jason there. He's our lunchtime keynote. Brought down the house this year, so we expect nothing less from him for next year. Get to meet producer Danny too. And, if you're in the California hotel market or want to be, this is the one event you should be attending. Great information, networking, and personal development. And as I'm fond of saying, be kind, share your knowledge. Now go be amazing.